Good morning and welcome. I'm Bob Pace. I'm your host for this podcast called Fight CPS with Bob Pace. We also talk about hanging on to your children. Don't lose your children. Keep your children or get your children back. I want to welcome all the people that have joined this podcast. A warm welcome. You've come to the right place if you want to know something about the child protection system. That's what I call CPS, the Child Protection System. It is a organization that is an arm of social services that protects our children from neglect and abuse. Protects our children from neglect and abuse. And it also provides social service help when your family's in need of food, housing, clothing, whatever there may be needed, because they're supposed to help out families. And lastly, if they break your family apart, they're supposed to put it back together. It's called family reunification. And the biological parents are the best parents, studies have proven, to raise children. So, at all possible cause, we need to correct any deficiencies in the parents, maybe regarding abuse or neglect. Now, the Child Protection System is an organization, enacted by Congress to really watch out for our children. And there are a lot of children being abused. Right now, the Child Protection System is investigating over 400,000 children per year. And of that, a percentage of them goes into foster care. Now, foster care is where you could have a shelter that's run by adults that are supposedly trained in how they handle children, or it can be a group home or a single family home. In my case, and I did have a case with CPS, 5 years of it was false allegations that it was constantly fighting every week. Then they tricked me and they were able to get into my home and talk to me, and they were trying to find something wrong. In the process of doing that, they literally trafficked my children into the system. They weren't in imminent danger. They were in danger with the, they're in danger at school. And I don't know what at school would be imminent danger. But it seems like the cases that I've talked to, 99% of them take the children automatically, whether they're in danger or not, and put them into foster care. Now, this show is interactive, meaning you can go ahead and participate in the show. The first step is that you can just be a listener, take notes. You can be a listener and take good notes. And that is fine. You have to do nothing else, because I will show you what I did that was wrong and that I should have done. I'll share what other people talk about stuff too. Now, this is a long road to recover your family. It isn't done overnight. The allegations are made, and then you are guilty until you're proven innocent. There's an investigation that goes on, and during the investigation, that's where your time really gets messed up. Now, the second thing you can do, and if you have some questions or comments you want to make, you can go ahead and type them in. Now, I am found on Facebook, Fighting CPS. I am transmitting on YouTube, and I'm using the StreamYard application. And so you can make comments. All I ask you is that the comments you make, so up on the screen, you can read it with me there, that should pertain to CPS questions, or it should pertain to CPS. We want to focus on the child protection system. That's what I call all the agencies around the world, is that you want to focus on that. So, with that being said, is that You can type in your comments and so forth, or your questions, and we'll try to answer them on the show. Now, please show your name. Now, I know that everybody registers has a name in there, but some of you have some creative names to maybe um, show some anger towards CPS. But I like a simple name like Bob, John, Mary, Bill. Don't be last name; it's the first name. And if you don't have to, just go ahead and add it in the comment section. Say, "Hi, I am Mary," and then you want to put the city or state or country. Now, the city and state is, like say Richmond, Kentucky, or you can say Los Angeles, California. Now, if you're in a state, if you're in a country, because this is a worldwide podcast, if you have internet wherever you live in the world, you can find the show live. So I could have somebody from, um, you know, uh, say down in Argentina, Buenos Aires in Argentina. So you put Buenos Aires and you put Argentina. Now, so far, the countries that have come in and talked or about comments have been Bangladesh, New Delhi, India, several countries in Africa. We've had the South African province on the west side um, call in. We've had Mozambique, which is north of South Africa, south of Somalia, across from the island of Madagascar. Then we have Rwanda in Central East Africa near Lake Victoria. Now, Rwanda is a small country, but it went through a terrible time in 1994, which is not too long ago. It's 20 years ago. And they had 1 million people that were brutally attacked and killed, all civil war there. And we had over 500,000 females that were raped. And that was a tremendous um, catastrophe for that country, but they've rebounded and the country's strong again. Now, further up north in Africa, on the coast, on the west coast, is Liberia. Liberia is called in several times or text in, and the gentleman's name is Archie, and he is involved in scouting. Now, scouting now has girls, so it's no longer Boy Scouting; it's just called scouting. So it has boys and girls, and they have programs where they help out their children. But he says they do have trouble with the CPS cases too. So he's interested. So I go up north to Europe, and I've had comments come in from England, Scotland, and Wales, the United Kingdom, and also from Denmark and Sweden. Then across the pond, I've had North America, where both sides of Canada have commented. I've had several comments from that country. Then, of course, the United States, I've spoken or have received texts from every state of the United States, including Washington, D.C. So it's something they all have in common. They're not right now. The Child Protection Agency has become corrupt or rogue. They're no longer transparent. They're not for families. My case was awful. It was so awful that one of my children was permanently removed from my wife and I. And on a retaliation measure by the social worker, the social worker retaliated and told our young daughter what to do, and she listened. Now, please be complete with your CPS case. And what I mean by that is if you're going to do a comment or make a phone call, which I'll bring it up shortly, it's very important that you start off by introducing yourself as a husband and wife, or a girlfriend, boyfriend, or lovers, or a partnership. That way I know how your family's made of. Are both parents involved with the children? Are there many dads or moms for the children? Do they have several? I'm trying to get who's all interested in this. Are you a single parent? Those are very important things. Again, I will emphasize the mother and father are the biological parents, the best parents to raise children. Then you can tell me the ages of the children, the sex of the children, also the allegations. Was it neglect or abuse? A little bit more detail about each of those. And then how were the children taken from your home? Did you give permission for them to come in and take your child? Did you go to the office? Uh, was there domestic violence going on and the police and the social workers entered the home? Domestic violence could be anything which is harmful to the children. If parents are slapping each other around or using weapons, or if a child is being strangled or slammed against the wall, that's immediate danger. The police and the social workers will end. The third way, I like to know if your child maybe it was taken because there was a warrant. Anyway, I like to know how your children were taken. Um, and lastly, where are you at on your case? Where you're at on your case. So that's the second way of interacting with the parents there. Okay. Um, so the third way is you can be a guest on our show. You can be a guest on our show. To schedule as a guest, all you have to do is email our show producer, which is Grace. She works all the time behind my podcast, helping me out, making sure the show runs well. I thank her for all the hard work she does. She also helps me line up my guests on the show. I can have as many as 10 people on the show. I can have as many as 10 people on the show. And so, what you do is you email her at grace@vincentwdavis.com. That's grace@vincentwdavis.com. It's on the screen. You can see that. All you do is you pick one of my show times. I have 14 podcast times. I'm typically on at 10 o'clock in the morning Pacific Standard Time for 1 hour and 7 p.m. 1 hour in the evening. Now, there are some exceptions. Every Sunday, I come on at 8 o'clock because I got family commitments with church on Sunday morning. And sometimes during the week, I have activities with my family, my son, who's in the school and so forth. Like he had a football game last night. And so I have my podcast in the evening, in the afternoon, instead of in the evening. I will let you know well in advance if there's any changes in there. So all you do is you pick the days, Monday evening, Wednesday morning, Tuesday morning, Monday evening, whatever, and tell Grace, and I can take as many as 9 of you as guests at one time. I have room for 10 video screens up there, but I've had as most as only 4, so I don't know how 10 would go, but that is fine. So email Grace at grace@vincentwdavis.com. Now, the fourth way I usually have, and it seems today that my phone is down, so I'm not going to put down my office phone number right now. The phone, we use a live stream, and it's called Vonage, but it seems like it's not recognizing the phone. So hopefully we'll have that. They have a connectivity going on. So hopefully we'll get that figured out when it gets in there. So I don't have Vonage working right now. So don't panic. You can still do comments. And also, I may have someone like one of my host call in on my regular phone line and talk that. So, um, uh, now we have a couple people have entered the room. I've gone over the ways you connect with me on this podcast. You just be in the room as a listener, or you can text in comments, or you can be a guest, or you can call in. Of course, my phone number is down right now. Now, uh, I have a gentleman named Dave Bartels. Now, he says a private team of family life which the state cannot enter. It's not proceeding in the law outside the law. Let me see here. Not proceeding in law outside the law and constitutionally protected guarantee from unwanted interference with rights to be let alone. From these federal business deceptive call courts on country and void and fraud on the court. Crime, not justice. Us versus David Bartelli of the People Blessings. Well, welcome, David Bartels. What country or what city or state you're from, and what is your CPS question or comment? Philosophically, that is nice. I'm glad you shared it with us. But we're in here to talk about CPS questions or comments. That's the Child Protection Services. It's a government agency branch that is supposed to protect our children from neglect or abuse, and also do family reunification. So the room is open for comments, and um, there's lots of things I can talk about. I can talk about my case and how it relates and helps you all. I can talk about these five rules that have developed that will help you. And there's about 50 topics I can talk about, like ICWA, or the 388 motion, or the JV 160 motion, or the safety plan, whether I should sign the safety plan. There's lots of topics, but I'd like you, the listeners, to be interactive. So you tell me um, what you like me to talk about. Now, David, again, I just all I need is just the city and the state or country and what your question or comment is about CPS. Now, Thomas Westbrook had just called in, and I assume it's a he. So he says, my child was taken last Thursday by CPS. Well, Thomas, I'm so sorry to hear about that. I know what you're going through. Can you tell me what city, state, or country that you're calling from so that I can help you? Also, what is your questions or comments about the CPS? Is there something you'd like to discuss that I can help you with, Thomas? I warmly welcome you. I know how difficult it is when a child is taken and trafficked into foster care. You have to understand this CPS organization is very corrupt. They're not transparent. And okay, from Missouri. Great. What part of Missouri are you from? I'm trying to get a little bit more idea on that one there. So now last week you say your children were taken. Do you remember what the allegations were? How was your child taken? That would be really important. I'd like to know how your child was taken. Thomas, how was your child taken? Oh boy. So it looks like some physical abuse came on. Your child was sexually abused by two neighborhood boys, and we didn't report it due to fear of CPS. Well, here's how it happens. When neglect, okay, I'm a homeschooling parent along with my wife, both natural parents. That's great, Thomas. That is great. I don't know if this is a rural area of Missouri. You haven't told me where area you are, so I'm trying to get a feel so I can look up things about your place and help you. If you could tell me the city in Missouri or the county, or if you want to do the county, that would work out too. Um, I know about the fear of CPS. They will take children, and they'll say, and this is a problem if you report to CPS, they'll charge both of you parents as neglect because you didn't protect your child from being abused by the boys. St. Louis, okay, that's fine. St. Louis, Missouri. All right. And so they're going to get you for neglect. Um, And this has also happened. Sometimes people report it to the police. Well, professional people by law are required to report to CPS. So if you call into 911 and say your boys were sexually abused by two neighborhood boys, the police will investigate. They'll come out and see if there's a criminal charge they can place. They also will contact CPS, and CPS will try to investigate you. Yeah, that's right. You told everyone but CPS. And how did CPS find out? How did CPS find out? Looks like we're going to play some ping pong ball here. Now, if you said to everyone you must have called the police, and the police may have in St. Louis, Missouri. Um, St. Louis. Now, what they say, and I use the internet a lot of these times, when you call into CPS in Missouri, Missouri law requires that a CD children's service worker initiate investigation, a family assessment within 72 hours of the receipt of report, unless the incident relates to educational neglect, in which case investigation assessment must be initiated within 72 hours. Now, CPS can come to your house without warning, but they cannot enter it without your permission. Now, that's one of my rules, my rule number 3. There's only 3 ways they can enter your home. One, if you give them permission, which you don't want to, and that includes police. Two, there's domestic violence going on and your child's in danger and they have to enter it for protection, such as you're strangling the child is being thrown against the wall, excessive physical force. Also, there's domestic violence between you and your wife. Let's say you guys are using weapons like knives and guns, and it's really becoming, they can enter your home. The CPS and the police can enter your home. Third, there has to be a court order. Now, CPS can obtain a court order if they believe your kid is in imminent danger. Now, they have to get that court order from a judge and tell the judge specifically why they need it because they think they're in imminent danger. And then that judge fills out a form that the judge signs. It's bossed with a stamp. You can feel it on the paper, and it very clearly says who the warrant's addressed to: the husband, wife, the two people that are responsible for the children. It's going to say the children's name and the accusations. Also, it's going to give the address of the place, what day and time they can enter your place, and what they can do: search, talk to you, take your child. So that's what I'm reading about there. Now, in Missouri, depending on the allegations made, CPS will initiate an investigation into the allegation of invading your home. They have only 10 days to do so. Some places are within 24 hours. Some places are within 24 hours. Now, I'm going back to Thomas where he's writing narrative. There was an argument with the child, and he basically ran off in the night. How old is the child? Is the child, I think the child's a boy, he said. How old is the child? They found him an hour later, and he told them about the abuse. I don't know who found him. Was it the police? You say they found him. I don't know who found him. They're saying education neglect. Now, how's it education neglect if you have a formal at-home schooling set up? Did you approach the education and get permission to do homeschooling? Did you set up a program? That's a good thing you never let them in. There's only 3 ways to let them in, Thomas. But who found him an hour later, and who he told him about the abuse? Now, is he talking about sexual abuse or educational? Why would the social worker say educational neglect if you're doing a legitimate homeschooling? Homeschooling has to be formalized. A lot of people think, oh, I'll just keep them at home and take out a book and teach them. No, you got to set up a curriculum. You got to establish that with the education department that you're going to help them learn the basics, what they need to know, and so forth. I'm glad you're not going to let them in. There's only 3 ways, and I already discussed that. So that is good. That is good. So the ping pong ball is in your court, Thomas. Okay, there's the problem. They can't say education neglect along with the sexual abuse, but I still need to know. Um, you said they. You said he was found an hour later. Who found him? And who did he tell about the abuse? And why would he say educational abuse if it's sexual abuse? I'm kind of puzzled here how the education came into play. I think that only came into play when the investigator came out about the sexual abuse. But I don't know who found him an hour later. Was it the police that found him later? And he told the police about the abuse, and then by law they had to report him to CPS. This all happened last week, so it should be still fresh in your mind, Thomas. I'm trying to help you as best as I can. I'm trying to help you as best as I can. Okay, so your boy ran away, and the sheriff found your boy running loose. Now, how old is the boy, by the way? You haven't told me the age of your boy. How old is your boy? The ball's back in your court. How old is your boy? And I imagine your boy told about the sexual abuse by the two other boys. Okay, he's 12. So he tells the sheriff, I've been sexually abused by some neighborhood boys. So then the sheriff's going to contact CPS and an investigation is going to be starting it out. Yeah, at 12 years old, puberty is acting out. They're at a really precocious age at 12. Um, they're really sensitive to things. So I'm telling you that it's a hard time. It's a hard time at 12. So the sheriff's reported to CPS, and CPS came out and they investigate the sexual abuse, and they also found out that you did not have a legitimate homeschooling program set up for your child. So they're going to get you with education, but those things can be fixed. Education neglect should not be. Now, were the children removed? I mean, why were they removed? Because of educational neglect. What danger were they in? Okay, they looked for bruises, none, but you said it was sexual abuse, not physical abuse. I'm confused now. You said there was sexual abuse. If it can be more, it can go along a lot quicker and faster. I can help you better. I can help you better. Now, your son, I guess, says he's scared of the father. Now, what do you mean okay, is it Thomas, you the father of your 12-year-old boy, or someone else with the name Thomas is speaking? Are you the mother of the boy? Why would the son be scared of the father? This is very hard for me to help you because I get bits and pieces here. Is it possible that you could tell me the whole story? Okay, so what father is he afraid of? Okay, so you're the father, Thomas. So I'm talking to the father of your 12-year-old son. What father is he scared of? Is he scared of you? Did he tell the sheriff he's scared of you? Okay, so your son is scared of you. Now, why would he be scared of you? What? Why is he scared? I mean, have you done something to make him scared? Okay, yeah, but 12 years old, you're right. We sometimes take away privileges. And that's rightfully so as a father. If a child is misbehaving, you temporarily take away something that they cherish. An Xbox is something they cherish. You just tell them, son, I know right now, I mean, what was he doing that was so bad that you want to threaten to take away his Xbox? What was it that was so bad that you wanted to take away your Xbox? I mean, isn't he being abused sexually by the neighborhood boys? Okay, the sexual abuse was the cause of the argument. Your son and you were arguing. Well, was your son reaching out to tell you that he was abused? I mean, um, Thomas, was your son reaching out and telling about his abuse? And then, not currently or any time after first knowing. Um, Where are the okay? That is one side. Do you have other children? Are you married? Do you have? It's a husband and wife, boyfriend, girlfriend. What is your relationship? What is? How is your family structured? Do you have children, other children, or is this the only child? I'm really confused now because this is like a puzzle. You said not currently or anything after first knowing. I have no idea what that means. And then you said no contact after. Who is no contact? The sheriff, the married husband, wife, and three kids. What are the ages of the kids? Two of them are grown up and out of the home. Okay, so you have a 12-year-old. Now that's great. Now I understand the family concept. But then who was the physical abuse by the other boys in the neighborhood the cause of argument? But who is not currently or any time after the first knowing? Who are you talking about there? Oh, the molester has had no contact after the first time. Okay. All right. Now, will your son tell, since CPS is involved, has your son told them that he was sexually abused by neighborhood kids? Okay, good. And so you as a father and your wife, you probably say you can no longer play with those boys. They're bad. Now, who has custody of your son right now? Was your son taken by CPS or is he still with you? Let me tell you about homeschooling in Missouri. Now, each state has its own rules regarding a parent's ability to homeschool their children. You need to know the laws. Now, you want to contact Missouri Department of Education. You need to create what's called a study plan. When homeschooling in Missouri, it's important to establish a clean environment where distractions are limited for your children to study on a regular schedule. Study routines are valuable for learning discipline. They also help your children stay on track with weekly, monthly, and yearly academic goals. Create a schedule and expect your child to stick to it. Modify the schedule when necessary to help your child stay challenged. There are a lot of steps with homeschooling in Missouri. Make sure your student quickly experience success. Take short breaks between study sessions. Help your student create a study schedule. Encourage pre bedtime study. Keep a learning environment, a clean learning environment. Put away or disable distracting technology. Teach effective note taking. Engage the students in activities that support mental and physical health. Encourage your child to come to you for help. Get advice from other parents. Those are 10 tips. And there's a lot more you can look at that can help you out there. Because you'll have to provide this to the child protection services or the system there in Missouri to get that neglect charge of education dropped. And the abuse charge, you need to tell them that you no longer have your child see those boys. Those are just tips. I can get you the rules. I'm just trying to help you locate it. All I did is I typed in my browser is that how to do homeschooling in Missouri. There's hundreds of articles how to do it. You need to contact the State Board of Education. You got to formalize a study plan if the child's going to stay at home. It's got to be approved. You're almost like a school. You're almost like a private school or a public school. You're trying to create the same environment they would get in a public school or a private school. So once you've put together your plan and submit it to the educational board, then they're going to approve it or maybe send it back with corrections. But then after that, you have a formal home study program. Does that make some sense, Thomas? I'm trying to help you out there. We've homeschooled or other children. Great. And one is Marine. Congratulations. Tell him thank you for serving our country. You know, being a veteran in the armed forces is great sacrifice. And I'm glad that young people still want to defend our country for freedom. And so, that is really great. I'm really glad that one of your children is a Marine. That's a good group to be in. Marines are proud, and good Marines, are first on the battle lines and so forth. I have a military background, so I know what it is. I was also slandered as a sovereign citizen by a state the officer. I was a natural born citizen. Um, I understand people that have views, and I hate to say it, the two kinds of people you don't mess around with are the police or the social workers of CPS. Because all they do is get anger and retaliate against you. And standing up to them or telling them they're bad is not going to be good for you because they lie. They'll lie, they'll cheat, and retaliate. The police are corrupt. There are very few good policemen anymore. The police that I talk to, are far and few. Well, if you probably call the CPS a trafficking ring. They are. CPS, the Child Protection System, legally does child trafficking. Why? Because they immediately take a child from the parents that are not in danger and put them into foster care. They have no control over foster care because foster care abuses the child. Also, the makeup of the social worker is very deceiving. There was a case in Prescott, Arizona, involving the Department of Children's Services, and that was in Prescott, Arizona. There's 8 social workers that worked in the Department of Children's Services. And what they decided one day is to get pink T-shirts and stencil on the front, professional child kidnappers. And as you walk by, on the back of the T-shirt, it says, "Do you know where your children are at?" That's the kind of social workers you're dealing with. Yeah, I know. But what happened is that the sheriff found your son who ran away, and the sheriff contacted the CPS, and now CPS is accusing you of neglecting you by not having your children in a formalized school program. Now, what I mean by formalized, it means you either enroll your child in a public or private school, or you create a formalized education program at home. Now, you lucked out doing to your children homeschooling. You didn't get caught. It's like if the speed limit says 65 miles an hour and you keep going 70 or 80 miles an hour, eventually you'll be caught. So Missouri state law says that if you do homeschooling, you have to have an education plan submitted and approved. There are hundreds of stories. I understand that. There's an application called Quora Digest, Qura Digest. And every day they'll have 10 cases of corruption within the child protection system. So CPS went and enrolled your boy into the public school. Well, they had to because you did not have a program that was approved for home study. So they put him into a public school. I know you don't like that, but you can still have them home study at school and take them out of the public school and get your child back. But you need to deal with their what they want you to do. Or I mean, if it was last week, it's all going to take time. Your case will probably average about 3 years. Mine was 3 years. Yeah, school's not started yet. I know that. September, some people start after Labor Day. Some of the schools here in California have already started. Yeah. Well, who has custody of your 12-year-old boy? Who has custody of your 12-year-old boy? Because CPS wants to keep them because they get $20,000 per month per your child, and that's coming from the state of Missouri, which gets its money from the federal government. And it's unlimited funds. You have to understand the child protection system is is $1 trillion business, not billion, not million, $1 trillion business. It's very corrupt. And the longer they have your child, the more money they'll make. See, CPS get custody. I've been playing ping pong ball with you for 40 minutes here with the bits and pieces. But what had happened was, and I'm trying to sum up your case for people that come into this room, is that you were trying homeschooling. What backfired in your case is your boy was playing with neighborhood boys and sexually abused him. And then your son tried to talk about an argument pursued, and he ran out the door and down the street. And then the sheriff saw him and asked him, why is he why is you not in school? Or maybe it's summertime. I don't know why they would ask that question. Anyway, they reported what the boy told them to CPS. And that's why the CPS was at your door. Yes, some of the social workers are pedophile. I know a case right now where a mother um, had her son be accused of molesting her daughter. And what happened is that the protective agency was investigating the daughter at her school. She's only 13 years old. He asked the school if he could have a private room to talk to this young girl. And instead of the school saying, we need to have a person there with you or a nurse or something like that, they let him do that. So they did not know he was a pedophile. No one knew he was a pedophile. But he asked the girl to disrobe, the 13-year-old girl. The girl told her mother what had she experienced, and she was really distressed about it. So she called the child protection system, and in turn they investigate, and he was a pedophile. He was fired. But what was sad about it is that in the firing process, one of his co-workers, who was an old friend of him from school days, did a retaliation move and had the sexual charges of the daughter by the son reversed and say the mother was sexually charging the son. So it's a big mess right now. It's a total big mess. Yes, I know it's evil, but in order to make changes and stuff, you're going to have to play the game. I mean, you got two children through homeschooling, but this child, if you want him homeschooled, you need to contact the education department and get the laws, get the tips, get the steps, and create yourself an education program at home that will meet their requirements. And then you can get your child back. I know you're fighting CPS, and I like to stand up to them all the time, but sometimes you need to get an attorney. I got an attorney. And speaking of that, I like to tell you about rule number one. Rule number one of mine is you get an attorney because the court appointed attorney that you get doesn't have times. They don't have time. And they are not experienced in dependency law, and they won't really fight for your case because they're friends of the courts, the judge, the social worker attorneys, the children attorneys. So you're going to end up really in terrible shape. Trying to fight this because these social workers are so corrupt. They're really, really, really corrupt. So where are you at on your case now? You said last week your son was trafficking into foster care. Where are you at right now at the moment? Yes. You don't want the court appointed attorney. So what I'm offering, my rule number one, is to contact my attorney, Vincent W. Davis. His law firm, Vincent W. Davis Associates, produces this podcast. And all you have to do is call in at 888-888-6582. That's the law office. And make sure you tell them that Bob Pace sent you and that you would like a consultation with Mr. Davis. He'll give a 30-minute consultation. It's a special deal through me for $60. He'll talk to you for 30 minutes for $60. And that is a good investment. So call today at 888-888-6582 and ask to speak to Vincent Davis. Tell him your trial date is coming up Monday. You'd like to speak to him beforehand. He will tell you in that 30 minutes how to navigate, how to get your children back. And of course, if you like him, he'll come out to Missouri and defend you. But he does have, besides his legal fees, he'll have his transportation fees, the air flight, the ground transportation, and the hotel and food that have to be paid. So that's where it gets expensive. The legal part is based on the complexity of your case and how long it's been going on. Yes, I appreciate you contacting him. I have about 5 minutes left of the podcast. So, also further, if you look at the ticket trailer running below the screen, there is a website that you can type in https colon candidly CALENDLY.com applications APPTS WD VWD. I'm sorry, VWD / Bob Pace. That will get you to his calendar page, and you can set up a consultation. You can see if he's busy that day. So that's the ticket running on the bottom of my screen. So if anybody else has more questions, feel free to ask, because again, I'm slowly running out of my time here. I want to thank Thomas for his frustrations and sharing it with us about how his child was, I guess, being abused, neighborhood boys. His father tried to talk to him about it. He got angry. He got picked up by the sheriff, and then the sheriff contacted CPS by law, and they in turn have said how much it would cost to have the child at school and so forth. There are fees that you got to pay for. So, with that being said, I want to thank all my listeners, and I really want you to keep trying to fight your cases. There's a wealth of information. Now, I'll be on again at 7 o'clock Pacific Standard Time tonight, so we can talk further. So, Thomas, if you want to come back later, hopefully the phones will be operational and I can take phone calls. If not, I'll be on tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. Don't forget, on Sunday, I'm on at 8 o'clock in the morning. Those are all Pacific Standard Times. Thank you all for your emojis, and thank you all for listening. And again, I thank you, Thomas, for sharing a very traumatic time with you and your Missouri. So, with that being said, this is Bob Pace thanking you all. Keep fighting for your children and don't give up. I'll see you tonight at 7 o'clock.